What is Disney's biggest issue right now? This week it broke that Pixar laid off 14% of their workforce after a disastrous 2023 for Disney. Disney was responsible for 4 of the 5 biggest flops last year with the Marvels, Indiana Jones, Wish, and Haunted Mansion. Looking at the data, this is tickets sold in blue, market share in red. This has to be terrifying for Disney. Obviously, COVID has massive relevancy here when looking at this data, but that is not the full story. Disney CEO Bob Iger came out in November of last year and said they need to focus on entertaining movies and not their messaging. And a Disney legend has just weighed in John Musker, who was let go 6 years ago. He said the classic Disney films don't start out trying to have a message. They want you to get involved in the story, with the characters, with the world. That's the heart of it. First, create characters you sympathize with who are compelling. They need to put the messaging secondary behind entertainment and compelling story and engaging characters.
When we think of Disney, it's pretty easy to envision something like this.
Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest.
Or this.
A king.
Perhaps even this. Regardless, when you think about Disney, it's pretty easy to think of it at its peak, during its promising beginnings to the Disney Renaissance, and even all the way to the iconic films and shows during the 2000s to 2010s. Put it simply, it was once the staple for quality films for children. Heck, they were so good that even as adults, we cherish them now. They used to feel so lively, soulful even, because they truly were. So, what on earth happened?
So who's asking for these live-action remakes? Because I haven't heard a single person be like, a live-action Lilo and Stitch would be pretty good right now. It's like Disney's seen success with like 2 movies and they just kept going. They're going through the whole backlist. Out of all of the live-action remakes they've made, I can honestly say maybe 3 of them have been good. Those 3 being the Alice in Wonderland live remake from like 2019, the Beauty and the Beast remake, and I want to say The Little Mermaid, but I haven't watched that one. I'm leaning more towards Cinderella or Ella Enchanted. And the thing is, their budget is so high, but everything looks bad. If you look at the Snow White movie, the costumes are terrible. And they could have done so many simple things to make the actress look like Snow White that they did not do. Hair, makeup, her clothes look like they're from Party City. I have seen cosplayers do better. The dwarves look bad. They could have just hired little people. And then the live action Lilo and Stitch, the aliens look grotesque. Some things just look better animated. Some things don't need to be live action. The whole point of the aliens is that they look funny, but they still look palatable. They look cute. In the live action, what am I seeing? What is that? I don't want them to look realistic. That looks ill. Not to mention, you're changing the entire story. Why would Nani give Lilo up to the government to go to college when the whole point of all the movies is family? And then they don't want to hire the right people. Why didn't you hire Hawaiian people? They're being cheap. They're not keeping the cast as open as they're saying. And they're cutting corners. It looks cheaply made. The special effects, the animation, the costumes, the makeup, the hair, everything just looks cheap. You're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in this, and it doesn't look it at all. A student film can do better with less.
Let's just say that if Walt Disney could see the current state of his company, he would roll in his grave, probably even drag down a few of the current higher-ups there with him. And I would say he'd be 100% justified by doing so because, genuinely, what even are these live-action films? I've said this multiple times amongst my friends before. Live actions hardly ever hit the mark. There are very few good live actions out there, and even fewer amazing ones. This will not be the last time we'd see a storm coming in light of some live actions because, frankly enough, they have the reputation of not doing the originals much justice. Disney is no exception to this, of course, because tell me right now, what have they done to Belle's golden dress? Why did they fumble on the Aladdin cast's costumes? Why did they make Nani leave Lilo when the whole point was about how they are Ohana and that she would do everything to keep her little sister by her side? And more notoriously, why in the world is Snow White being portrayed as this particular kind of girl boss when she was already a strong character beforehand? Look, my beef with live actions mostly lie in how terribly they treat the source material. Now, I understand that it could be very difficult for some scenes to translate well into reality. So why are we making live actions of such things in the first place?
Not everything has to be live action. I like Lilo and Stitch. I like Minecraft. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna like it if it's in fucking real life. I like Jack Black. I like Kung Fu Panda. But I'm not gonna fucking like a hyper-realistic Kung Fu Panda. You know why? Because I have taste. I like them animated. I don't like them in real life. They don't look good in real life. I like them when they're on screen, animated by human people. What the fuck is up with that?
Sometimes the magic of a show or film lies heavily in the beautifully made animations. It's quite difficult to put into words, but animations, and other mediums outside of live action, have this particular whimsy to them. What's not real and that it's just a fantasy world with made-up characters, but I strongly believe that they make for some great escapism. They are absurd enough through the supernatural elements and powers characters possess. Then you factor in the stylized renditions of the characters in these supernatural situations. Like, you know such things are impossible in real life, but that's what adds charm to them. It's this distant little fantasy you can indulge in, whether as an imaginative little kid or as a tired and nostalgic adult. Live actions, given the undeniable limitations real life does have, they just never hit the same to me. And yes, I do know there are amazing live-action fantasy shows and movies out there, but here I'm particularly referring to live actions adapted from books, or more prominently in Disney's case, animated originals. As a kid, Disney's stories and music were amazing to me. They've inspired a good lot of the stories that I've wrote back when I was 6. They were catchy, inspiring, and very motivational even. But of course, they were tied together by the painstakingly drawn and rendered animations. 2D and 3D, I would say Disney has done both justice. I particularly adored Mulan and Princess and the Frog, and for their 3D films, I loved Tangled the most. And it's impressive given how this was their first 3D Disney princess film. See, as a kid, these animated films were amazing as a means to vicariously explore new worlds. These characters' worlds, while bearing some similarities to our own, they had new points of interest that were easily mind-blowing for kids. And for adults, outside of the nostalgia factor, isn't it just nice to unwind and see characters deal with bigger-than-life issues while still getting to enjoy love and magic? They weren't realistic, I know, but they were fun and they were emotional during serious scenes. They weren't happening in real life, but that was okay because there's always appeal in dreaming for what we can't have. That sounds a bit depressing, but true, I do think some oblivious daydreaming and wishful thinking here and there is fun. God knows how much fun real life has sucked out of us already. Live actions could absolutely be enjoyable when done right and given the best resources, let me make that clear. I would say that for all it's worth, Cinderella 2015 was a solid live action. It won't beat the original for me, but given how well the story, costume design, and cinematography were executed, I would say it was magical in its own way. Unfortunately, this is an outlier in a room of live actions that have fallen flat on its face. This is not just a Disney issue, sadly, but I get very disinterested when canon is changed in live actions for no good reason. Like, okay, let's look at Cinderella's live action. There were some slight deviations from the original, such as the end scene wherein Cinderella verbally expresses forgiveness towards her stepmother, and the scene where Cinderella and the prince meet before the ball. These didn't ruin the story for me because they added depth to the story and they were in character. The prince having met Cinderella briefly earlier was a good way to establish and have an added layer of genuine interest outside of him simply finding her beautiful at the ball. Cinderella forgiving her stepmother is in character because at her core, she's a resilient and kind character. They could have made her dropkick Lady Tremaine there, but they didn't because that's not how Cinderella is. She endured pain, but she forgives with grace out of the goodness of her heart. That's the Cinderella we know. So, surely, they wouldn't fumble Snow White of all films, right? She is their first princess after all, so there is no way.
This new wave of feminism they've created centers around women having a high-ranking job and absolutely not having a man, which implies the alternative is not feminist. In fact, comments like the ones we saw on the D23 carpet are actively putting stuff down that doesn't align with this new wave of feminism.
One of the things that makes me very sad has to be the fact that modern Disney seems to be allergic to allowing characters to simply long for love. Hey, I understand that this won't be enough as a character motivation, but do we really have to shaft this in favor of wanting leadership and independence? Because I don't know about you, but I believe you can have all of these at once. So why choose? The skill issue for you, Disney. Now, as a young woman who's dove deep into the trenches of 2010's Tumblr, I vividly remember when people shat on certain Disney princesses for wanting love and being damsel in distresses. Like, oh, believe me, I was there. To an extent, I suppose it was valid to want some breather outside of romance here and there. But holy crap, do I hate seeing already established princesses' stories getting burnt to a crisp to sell the whole girl boss image. I love a good girl boss character, but believe me when I say that Snow White is the last character that comes into my mind when I think of someone fierce and not looking for love. Mischaracterization much? Like, look, from the get-go, I've always disliked the whole narrative that Snow White was weak and helpless. Hey, this is a teenage girl who's lost her parents and is getting treated like a slave and competition by her own stepmother. But these factors never once made her do evil, nor did they make her vengeful. Because again, like Cinderella, she's simply kind. Too kind, even. Hence why it is utterly painful to see her character get incinerated in the live action. Because what do you mean she wants to be a leader and she doesn't want love? Poor girl literally just wanted to live in peace without some jealous women screwing her over. More importantly, I heavily dislike how we act as if wanting love is a bad thing. No shit. If you're living a miserable life wherein your family is your enemy, why would you not want love? And even if we were to take away all that mess out of the equation, there shouldn't be anything wrong with it either. Of course, I'm not saying they should make these Disney princesses playgirls, but true love is great, so it was never bad to desire it. I understand wanting characters, especially those in romance-heavy works, to want something more than just romance, but come on! Strike a balance for the love of God. Just as not everyone wants mushy love stories, not everyone wants world domination either. Which is why I've always wondered why we couldn't have the best of both worlds. Characters who are independent and ambitious, while still indulging in the beauty of love and partnership. People in real life have done it after all, so why shouldn't it happen in fiction? Art imitates life after all. Therefore, it's insane to see that in pursuit of not making characters one-dimensional in one way, now Disney has tipped the scale too far in the other way. Now no one is happy, and the newer releases just don't hit the same way they used to. Now, I wouldn't say Disney is the poster child of originality, of course. At the end of the day, a good chunk of their big classics are still heavily based on the Grimm brothers' stories. But at least these stories were reworked beautifully, still keeping some of the original conflicts that made stakes high, while still making it palatable for young kids who maybe don't want to see the stepsister's toes getting sliced to fit into the glass slipper. At their peak, set the bar high. It almost went without saying that if it was from Disney, then they would undoubtedly deliver. Maybe not every release was a massive hit, but even the more underrated ones had plenty of people adoring the writing, music, or visuals. So why of all the times to mess up did Disney fumble on their 100th anniversary of all dates? You have likely heard of the infamous 2023 film Wish, and if you haven't, then lucky you. As for how to describe this movie, many other people on the internet have previously described it best. It feels like an AI-generated movie trying to pander to everyone, which, in turn, ended up pandering to absolutely no one. First of all, the animation was wonky. Now, I don't know much about how it works, but as far as I'm concerned, her hair should not be moving like that. This is Disney, for goodness sake. These little errors can come from a small company, but certainly not a titan in the industry. And then we have the lyrics. To really paint the picture, take a refresher and look at these lyrics sung by the Hunchback of Notre Dame's villain, Frollo. Now, take a look at Magnifico's little villain song. I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't cackle at that. To me, this whole movie reads like a poor attempt at trying to revive old Disney's tropes while mixing in some modernity. The characters fall flat in comparison to basically everyone else who has come before them. Because tell me why Asha reads like every dorky character's cringier parts blended into one, and tell me why the side characters seem to have an addiction to info dumping over, I don't know, the story actually showing us what is up? Not even the animal friend in this movie holds a candle to the other companions that we've seen before. I've seen dialogue-free Barbie animals provide more amusement than this. I've already dunked on the lyrics, but as for the melody of these songs, they just don't hit hard enough to let me gloss over the lyrics either. Considering Disney's large discography of iconic songs, it is insane to mess up like this under Centennial celebration. They better be glad that the dead couldn't draw hands, because honestly, if I were Walt Disney, I would not let this slide. Originality feels like such a strange issue for a company of this size to have. Don't get me wrong, I know it absolutely happens, but I'm sure that Disney of all companies has all the resources in the world to get in touch with many creatives out there. Literally go to any critique video of Wish right now, and I guarantee you that someone in the comment section has already come up with a better plot for it. I, with many other people, cannot help but feel sick and tired of these half-assed films. It was cool for the first few times, but mess it up for more than once and keep churning out the undercooked live actions, then it suddenly becomes no surprise that people get sick of it. Where are the original stories? The ones that have the creativity and soul that put Disney on its pedestal in the first place? I optimistically think that they still have it in them. I mean, look at Encanto. It was released in 2021 and we love it because it has the heart and originality to it as with Disney's other beloved works. The characters had depth, the music was phenomenal, and it also ticks boxes on inclusivity. So clearly, we can have all this. We already have a clear-cut example that we can have something fresh yet still cut from the same cloth that made up their best works. So why aren't we getting that? Simple. Like with many other big corporations, it narrows down to one thing: greed.
So yeah, Disney is huge. And you know how they got here. Yep, it's acquisitions. It's always been acquisitions. Throughout the past 25 years, and especially after Bob Iger became CEO, Disney has grown by addition. These acquisitions have become core parts of the company.
They're buying out everything that breathes. Like, oh, is your saga making big money? You've got a sizable fan base? Then welcome aboard. Their amusement parks? Yeah, good luck affording even the most basic of food there, unless you've got serious cash going on.
What's happening now is Disney is an incredibly expensive and incredibly magical experience.
Disney's park prices are up more on average than in a normal year. A one-day base level ticket to Disney World was averaged $89 in 2012 and averaged $147 in 2022. And that the growth rate of that cost has been about 5% annually.
Want to simply sleep in Disney World? Well, I hope you've got hundreds of bucks to throw for a single night then.
Oh hey, so it's official. There's zero reason to stay at a hotel on Disneyland property. They got rid of the early entry perk for hotel guests that are visiting the parks. They claim that it's because the perk was not really utilized. It was underutilized. That's bullshit. That is one of the biggest perks of staying at a Disneyland Resort hotel. And if you take that away, in exchange for one Lightning Lane multi-pass, we're staying at a hotel that is $600 to $1,000 a night.
Don't you dare expect that canceling your Disney Plus subscription is any easier. Obviously, the right way to do it is to just let them take your money because they'll make the process as inconvenient as possible.
People are now getting emails showing that Disney Plus is doubling their prices. As you can see in the email they just sent out, just last year, a year subscription to Disney Plus was $80. Now this year, it's $160.
Anyways, enjoy the 2 times price increase though. Wait a minute, you got hurt on Disney World property? You wanna sue? Well, too bad. You signed up for a Disney Plus subscription 5 years ago. What do you mean that doesn't make sense? Yes, it does. You signed up for a free trial, and we've agreed that you can't sue us even if something goes horribly wrong and it's entirely our fault.
It's honestly wild how unafraid of us these mega corporations are. Disney just let the entire world know that all 153.6 million of their Disney Plus subscribers signed away their rights to ever take Disney to court if they're ever injured or killed on one of their Disney properties. A woman died after having an allergic reaction at a Disney restaurant, and it was the restaurant's fault because she told the waiter multiple times about her allergies and was assured that the food that she was given did not have any dairy or nuts in it. Her husband is trying to sue Disney for $50,000, which, by the way, is nowhere near enough money. He should have added several extra zeros onto the end of that. But Disney came back and said, no, sir, remember when you signed up for that 1 month long free trial of Disney Plus back in 2019? Yeah, when you did that, you agreed to not take us to court ever. Again, $50,000 is pennies to Disney. They could have easily given that man his money and just moved on. But they don't want to have to be taken to court for anything ever again. So they're using this poor widower to make a point. And they're doing it publicly because they don't think that we're going to boycott. I'm guessing that the assumption is that even if you decide that you're going to cancel your Disney Plus subscription, it doesn't really matter because you signed up for that subscription at some point in the first place and now they've got you. But I think Disney doesn't understand that they just told all of us that eating at a Disney restaurant or shopping at a Disney store or visiting a Disney park is a bit of a risk. And Disney, that's not a risk that I can afford to take. Now I know that if I go to Disneyland and a ride malfunctions and I get injured, those medical bills are on me. I can't eat at your restaurants if I now know that you can accidentally poison me without consequence. And I'm sure that other mega corporations are watching this and waiting to see how this all plays out. And they're just eagerly awaiting the day when they can say something like, oh, well, you signed up for an Amazon Prime account, which means Whole Foods employees are legally allowed to run you over with their cars. This is just a sign that we need to start shopping smaller. Give your money to local businesses because you know for sure that they can't kill you without consequence, you know? These corporations are intent on creating this dystopian hellscape for us all to live in, but we can opt out in several ways if we want to.
Now, I could go on and on about how greed ruins all the good things, but that's definitely a video in itself, given how extensive this dilemma goes. It's just that this is particularly jarring to see in a company that had once taught children to dream big and be kind. Like, they surely dreamt big by buying out those whom they deemed as threats, but they certainly haven't been anywhere near kind upon making these choices. Business is business, I guess. Who cares if your founder would be horrified if he could see what happened? As long as money is made, then that's all that matters. Ironically enough, Wish merch wasn't selling, and Snow White expectedly tanked at the box office. So even with all those greedy choices, I can't even say that they're winning in the end. Like, who even roots for Disney anymore? I'm no longer sure. We've surely got the Disney adults, then maybe the kids were still too young to know that the guy in the Goofy costume is probably paid too little for all this, and perhaps those who still wistfully think that Disney could be brought back to its former glory. No joke. They need to step up their game. The biggest hit kids film of late is literally, for once, not from Disney. People eat it up for all the reasons we once had for Disney. It was original, the music was great, and the characters felt relatable without being incompetent. Hence why I definitely recommend checking out K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix if you haven't already, which, in that case, I'd be surprised. Other non-Disney animations I recommend giving more love to are the likes of Perfect Blue, Red Shoes, and The Seven Dwarfs, which initially got into hot water, but you'll see why it's a gem. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and almost any Studio Ghibli film, if you want something whimsical. I believe more of us should check out The Secret World of Variety. As you can see, other studios are producing amazing stories and quality animations themselves. So really, I wasn't surprised when I saw a bunch of little girls dress up as Rumi for Halloween in the same way kids dressed up as Elsa a decade prior. The cultural impact was there, and until Disney could get better people on top and greater ideas on the forefront, it's hard to say if they can do it again. It's very easy to want more. Once you've already reached great heights, there's no denying that climbing that ladder higher and higher becomes more tempting. But honestly, it gets to a point. Disney has lost the plot for now. Would it be difficult to bounce back from this level of late-stage capitalism? I don't doubt it. But if by some miracle, the top guns in the company somehow rethink their vision once more, then maybe we could get another Disney renaissance. Hard to tell if it's possible now at our current state, but we all hope for that magic from our childhood to return one day somehow. What's your favorite Disney film? What did you like about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section because, really, this is a wild ride. A very nostalgic and infuriating one, I'm sure. Once again, it's current champ See you on the next one.
And I'ma just do me. A Luffy hold me down on 2 feet. That's 10 toes, bust 4, 5, and 6 foes. Need 2.